Hello everyone, and hello Miss Claire and the whole classroom. Welcome to another presentation. So I know initially you might have heard Tristan, my veterinary nurse, discuss all about sea turtle biology and why sea turtle is important, where do they come from, what species exist. So now that you have all that background, I want to introduce you to the Marine Turtle Rescue Center here in the Maldives. We are based in Ba Atoll, which is a conglomeration of different islands. We're at the very south of it. And it is a very special hotspot within the Maldives for wildlife, sea turtles included. My name is Mariana. I'm the veterinary doctor here at the island and probably one of the few in the Maldives. And we're very happy to be here with you. I will just now disclose about the work that we do at the rescue center, and then we will record you a little tour of the rescue center so you can actually meet our patients. I know you have already met most of them and that you have adopted Handu. He's waiting for you today to say hello. But right now, let's just have a look about what we do at the rescue center. So this is how it looks. Okay, we have these two big bright yellow canopies on both sides, and underneath we have 7 tanks. So we can have up to 10 patients at each time. And we are opening some other rehab centers so that we can move patients around according to our needs. So as you know, sea turtles are aquatic animals. Usually they live in the sea, but while they're here in the hospital, unlike you that you would go into a hospital bed to not move too much so that you can recover, here our patients go into these smaller tanks compared to the ocean. They're still quite big, but because we want them to move less, but we want them to be comfortable, and they are more comfortable if they are in the water. So as Tris had mentioned, we belong to the Olive Ridley project, and we have 3 main pillars. So we do rescue and rehabilitation here in the island mostly, but we also do scientific research all around the Maldives as well as on our other spots around the world. And we do a lot of education and outreach, which this presentation today is one of those. So just so you know who the team is, we are led by Dr. Max. He's an American veterinary surgeon. He aids us remotely, so every week we have meetings to discuss our patients. Then I am here. I'm Mariana. I'm the resident veterinary surgeon. This is Tris, the girl that just presented before me about the sea turtles. And then we have, so she's from the UK. And then we have Nico, our sea turtle rescue and rehab intern. He's from the Maldives, and he's a great help and aid here at the rescue center. So just so you are also aware, I'm covering a little bit on that corner, aren't I? I'm cutting the name of Afra. So just so you know, we offer internship opportunities here. So part of our educational side of things is building local capacity. So this is Asha on the far left. She was our previous intern, so she was doing a sea turtle rescue and rehab internship with us for 5 months actually. Just before her, we have had Swift. Swift because he loves Taylor Swift songs. He is now a sea turtle biologist intern, so he did the portion of the internship with us first to learn how to handle sea turtles, and then he moved on to doing the nesting biology on sea turtles. And lastly, we had Afra. So Afra has gone through both parts of the internship, the rescue and rehab side and the nesting biology side. And then he became a full-grown sea turtle biologist, which he's actually responsible for the Ba Atoll where we are in now. So again, as Tris mentioned, we have 7 different species of sea turtles around the world. And in the Maldives, we are able to find 5 of them. The greens and the hawksbills being the most prevalent ones because they're very coastal animals, which means they live really by the beach and they're easy to see when we go out swimming or snorkeling or diving. So those are the most common ones, the first 2, greens and the hawksbills. Then here at the rescue center, we mostly deal with olive ridleys, and I will explain why, but these animals are usually in the open ocean. And so they're harder to spot if you're just snorkeling on the beach. And then we also have some sightings of loggerheads and of leatherbacks, even though these animals are a bit more rare because, again, open water animals. And the leatherbacks are the biggest species on Earth. They grow up to be 2 meters in length. So they go to very, very deep waters and makes it, just not very common for us to see them at the surface. The flatbacks are just endemic to Australia, so not even in Qatar you'll be able to see them. unlike greens and hawksbills, for example. And the camps really, they only exist as well in Mexico and Texas, so in the Gulf of Mexico. So those two species of turtles, we wouldn't be seeing them in the Maldives or in Qatar. Since we've opened this rescue center in 2017, and we opened it because we were facing a lot of issues with animals being found entangled in these ghost nets. And we were initially studying where are these nets coming from to have a better understanding of the problem. However, we saw all these animals needed veterinary care, they needed medical care. And so that's why we opened the rescue center in partnership with Coco Pound Nicolou. So since opening, we have treated 220 patients. And you can see that the most amount of animals that we treat are actually olive ridleys. Again, I'm cropping that sign of that part of the sign. I'm so sorry. But basically, we have treated 172 olive ridleys. And then we have also seen the occasional greens and hawksbills. But I will explain why we see so many olive ridleys. So sea turtles face a variety of natural threats. And this is not really a natural threat, a dog, but I'll explain a bit better. So when sea turtles lay their eggs in the sands, in the beach, there's a lot of animals, depending on which country that you are in, that can eat the eggs. That can be either humans, but usually they can be raccoons, foxes, rats, crabs. All these animals can sense, can smell the eggs, and can dig for it and harvest them. In some countries where dog populations are out of control and we have a lot of stray animals, sometimes dog can become a predator too, but that's not very a natural threat. It's a human-induced threat. When they are born, the babies are really small, and so a lot of animals can predate, can eat them. That can be either crows, any other types of seabirds, a lot of different types of crabs, and when they get into the water, we have different sizes of fish that can eat them. That's why the babies want to go as fast as they can into the water, and then they swim as fast as they can out into the open ocean, because that's where most of the predators do not go to the surface. And here in the Maldives, we have quite a prevalence on shark attacks, which is normal because we have a good shark population. But you can see that this little fellow had a little bite from a shark. In countries like Central and South America, so Costa Rica, for example, the big cats like the jaguars have evolved to go to the beach and eat or hunt for the females that are nesting. So sea turtles had all these animals trying to eat them, which is part of the food chain, but they were able to cope with that for thousands of years and they were fine. The problem started when humans came along, and then we came to introduce all sorts of threats. So we started harvesting a lot of the eggs and harvesting illegally a lot of the turtles for not only the meat and the eggs, but also for their leather to make different types of clothing, and mostly for their shells. So we did a lot of different types of jewelry with the scutes of the shell of the turtle. So that can be mirrors, brushes, combs, etc. Just making sure. We also started, just making this presentation work. We also started seeing a lot of these animals ingesting plastic, that you can see that it is a problem that's floating in the ocean. This plastic gets the smell of food or looks like food, and the sea turtles are attracted to it, and then once they eat it, sea turtles cannot vomit back up, they cannot regurgitate anything. So once they grab it, the only way it's inwards. And when they eat it, not only can it cause obstructions and they can die from that, but also because the plastic does not progress into their digestive tract, so they always feel full because their stomach is full of plastic, and so they don't want to eat, right? Because if you have a lot of stuff in your stomach, you just feel, yeah, I'm comfortable, I'm full, and so then they start starving, and this can starve all the way to death. And we see a lot of also entanglements, which is our main problem here at the rescue center, like you see in this picture, with marine debris that's floating in the ocean. We also have issues with climate change. As you know, climate change poses two risks. One of them is the seawater is rising, and as you know, but Maldives is very, very low country. The highest point is like 2 meters above seawater. And so that means that with the waters rising, we are losing nesting beaches for the sea turtles, because the beaches are getting smaller because the water is covering more. And the other issue we face with climate change is that, as Tris mentioned in her presentation, sea turtles' gender. So if they're males or females, it gets determined through temperature. So climate change is making temperatures rise a lot more, and that means that with higher temperatures, we're seeing a lot more females being born. And initially we think, oh, that's great because we need more eggs. However, if we don't have any males, there won't be any biodiversity, or there won't be any males to fertilize those eggs. We also have issues with bycatch in countries, not the Maldives, but in other countries where there's a lot of long line fisheries, trolling nets or gill nets. All of these big nets that drag through the ocean, they actually drag all these other animals, which is called bycatch. And it can be turtles, can be dolphins, can be seals, sharks. So that becomes a big problem. We have issues with coastal development. So anytime we are building roads, airports, houses by the beach, even though it's lovely for us to have a house right there, it is taking away their habitat. And so, for example, this turtle on the bottom, she used to nest in this beach. This beach became an airport, and unfortunately, when she came back to lay a couple of years later, she ended up laying her eggs in the tarmac. And this is a baby hatchling. So babies and moms, they follow light. They are attracted to light. That's how they orient themselves. So if there's abnormal light, artificial lighting, they get confused and they start following that light and go into danger, into roads, etc. We have issues with boat strikes. So sea turtles, they breathe air. They need to come up to breathe. And sometimes if we're boating unresponsibly and go really fast, we can hit them with a propeller. And in other areas where there's a lot of oil exploration or there's a lot of oil spills, there's a lot of pollution, we see not only animals getting completely covered in oil, not only sea turtles, seabirds as well, and we see these you see these pink things? These are tumors growing on the sea turtle, and these happen in waters that are very polluted. Fortunately enough, it hasn't happened yet in the Maldives, but it is only a matter of time because it is spread by a virus, and that virus will just continue to spread around the world. So in the Maldives in particular, we face a lot of issues with beach development because everything is an island and they're all tiny islands, so everything is always by the water. We do still face illegal harvesting, so animals are still poached for their meat and eggs, even though it is already illegal since 2016 that they are protected species. And there's also a lot of issues with people wanting to keep these babies these hatchlings as pets. So I know they look really cute, and they are gorgeous. However, they are not suitable for being pets because they demand a lot from us. They have to have a lot of water quality checks, they have to have a proper diet, and that just simply doesn't happen. But the main issue we face here, a primary threat to our sea turtles here in the Maldives, in the rescue center that we face, is ghost nets. So ghost nets are any discarded fishing gear, like fishing net, fishing lines, that end up in the ocean. And sometimes it's not just fishing lines, it's when we have these big cargo ships that have the containers that are transporting materials, clothes, toys between countries through the ocean, those big containers also have a net at the end that protects the shipment. If at any point the door opens, that net is supposed to keep the shipment in place. While sometimes those nets also fly away from the boats and end up in the ocean. So these nets, they start floating around in the ocean, and they go with the currents, and then they kind of conglomerate all together in an area of the ocean where the currents join. And in these areas, you have tons of ghost nets floating, and all this ghost net, as I said, starts smelling like food, which attracts these animals. So for example, in just one ghost net, you can see here there's 4 olive ridley turtles entangled, and there's also 2 sharks. So they're deadly to any animal. Usually this is how we find them. So olive ridley sea turtles, they're ocean species, so they live in open waters where there's not a lot of food available. When these nets are floating, they are at the surface, so they have a lot of light, which makes algae grow on them, right? Plants grow where there's more light, and when there's more algae, it attracts more fish. And so it becomes this little oasis of plastic, but that sea turtles, it smells like food, it has some food in it, so they get attracted to it and they go inspect it. Well, the problem is once they go in, they get trapped. And you can see this turtle was rescued, don't get worried, but you can see how badly the back flipper is entangled there. Worst case scenario for this animal, probably he would have ended up losing the leg and he would have freed himself because he's not very entangled. But sometimes you have animals that are really deeply embedded all of themselves and they can't escape. Just for you to see, oops, let me see if I can go back. Oh, I can't. I was going to repeat that video just for you to see one thing, is that that animal is dragging the net with it. And is able to come to the surface to breathe, right? So that animal can actually last in that net for weeks, if not months, because it's able to feed on things that are at the surface, it's able to still take a breath, and he's trying to drag that net. Those nets are really heavy, so usually they don't drag anything, they usually go with the nets with the current, but that animal probably would survive several weeks. Olive ridleys are mostly affected because they are open water species, they are migrating, so they do big migrations around the world. In this area, they migrate through to India here in Sri Lanka. And once they go into those areas to nest, to the Bay of Bengal, these nets are mostly floating in the middle of the Indian Ocean and they get trapped there. And then from usually end of November to April, we have the northeastern monsoon. So all these nets start coming from the northeast. So north is here, east is there. So northeast means this direction. So the currents start coming this direction, and Maldives is this tiny red spot here. So then all the nets and turtles that were stuck here start floating into the country. So in the Maldives is not allowed to have nets, but all these nets come from other countries into us, and it obviously becomes our problem. So as I was saying, this is worst case scenario. So you see how embedded this turtle is, all around the neck, all around the flippers. There's no way this little hawksbill will be coming out, or that olive ridley in the bottom. It's really embedded in its neck. So unfortunately, these animals, if they cannot come up to breathe, they will drown. If they cannot feed, they will also starve to death. See? Don't worry, these animals will be rescued as well. But this is how deadly these nets can be. So the Olive Ridley Project started a rescue network all around the country. So 24/7, I have a phone and you can give me a call, and I will, if you find an animal in distress, and I will give you help. So initially it's through a video call. I'll see what's wrong with the animal. I'll assist you in how to safely rescue the animal for yourself and for the animal. And then we see, okay, can the animal be released back into the wild, or does the animal need veterinary attention, needs doctor? If it needs to be seen, then I'll arrange transportation. And it can come by domestic flight, it can come by seaplane, which we have these planes that land in the water. That's very common here in the Maldives to move around islands. And fortunately enough, we have a partnership with the Trans-Maldivian Airlines, and they fly them for free for us. Or they can come by boat, speedboat, dhoni, which is a slower type boat. So there's all different ways for them to come, but it's always very logistically hard because all the country is 99% water. All the islands are very small. So to move this turtle from very up north of the country to us, they have to come through several stops. So it can take a day or two for them to get to us. When they get, we do a first triage. So that means when you guys go to the hospital and you're feeling sick, the doctor's always going to analyze the full body of yours, right? And see what systems are wrong, what's your pain. Obviously, sea turtles don't let us know what's wrong with them, so we have to be very smart about it. And once we understand what's wrong with it, and we do some diagnostics, meaning that we do some bloods and we do some x-rays, so we do some different types of tests to see what's wrong with the animal, then we decide on how we need to treat it. Do we need medical treatment, so medication to be given, or we need surgery? Like in this picture, we were doing surgery on Zelia. And we do those accordingly and adjust always our treatment so that we're aiming for the release of all these animals. Here was a release by the boat. So at the rescue center, we have a very regular routine. Obviously, we change according to the patient's needs. But every morning, we come to inspect that all of our patients are doing okay. They slept fine, they're active, they haven't passed any poops in the tank, is their behavior normal? We also go check our pump system because obviously to keep these tanks, we have a pump system that it's pumping water from the ocean into the tanks and out of the tanks back into the ocean, passing some filters to keep it clean. And all of this has a lot of electrical components, and we make sure that all of those are working. We then set up an exhibition table that we have for our guests. So we are based in a resort. We have a lot of visitors every day. We want to make sure that they have all the information they need and little gifts that they can purchase for their family members. Then we start doing a lot of the cleanup. So we are raking the leaves from the floor. We are cleaning the windows that we have the exhibition for our turtles. We are cleaning the walls, the inside of the tanks. And then we take some measurements of the water. So we want to make sure that the water quality is up to pristine levels. So we are recording the salinity, so the salt levels of the water. We are recording the temperature, the pH. So we want to make sure that the animals are in the best environment possible, because this is a hospital. So that's what Asha here is doing. We then prepare their food every day. We are weighing exactly the amount that they need. Each patient gets a different amount, and each patient has different types of menus. So some prefer crabs, some prefer lobsters, don't we all? Some prefer different sorts of fish, either tuna or white fish from the reef or barracuda, and some really like the crabs versus the prawns. So we try to obviously give them always a varied diet, but we can help them with their favorite food. And if we have turtles that are vegetarian, like the green sea turtles, then we give them some seagrass or sometimes some romaine lettuce, some peppers to keep that vegetable portion of their food present. So then we are here feeding them. Here it's a lovely photo of volunteers cleaning the tanks. So the tanks are quite deep. It's quite a task. And every week we have to clean one tank. So we have 7 tanks once a week. Each day of the week we are cleaning one different tank because we want to keep these very obviously clean, because it's a hospital. And once a week also our sea turtle patients get a little scrub. So in the wild, these animals would either be scrubbing themselves against the reef, or they would be getting cleaned by fishes that clean their carapace, their skin. That doesn't happen in these tanks, so we do that for them. We sometimes have devices in their tanks with brushes that they can rub themselves, but still once a week or once every 2 weeks we take them out and we scrub them gently. The last picture is of Tiki, the hawksbill sea turtle. It was just to mention that we also take the time to spend some time with them and observing them, because sea turtles are just beautiful animals. So now we have a new veterinary clinic. We already had one, but it was much smaller. Now we have a big one, and this is where I am actually now recording this presentation. So we have this first room where we have our lab section here with our microscope, our centrifuge, all of our blood analyzers here. Then we have our working station, which is where I'm recording this presentation from. Our sterilizer, our autoclave to sterilize all the equipment we need for the surgeries. So this is like our dry area. And then we have our surgery room, which is these 2 photos from. So this is our blood machine, so we can do any analytes on sea turtle blood. This is our x-ray machine. So here we take an x-ray of a turtle and then we put it through this machine, and on the screen we will be able to see the x-rays. And then this is an endoscope, this screen. So that is basically a little camera that we can put down or up the sea turtle's either mouth or stomach, and we can see and look for what's in there, because sea turtles have a really hard shell, so we can't really palpate anything. So we rely heavily on x-rays to pass through the shell, and also on the camera to see what's happening inside. And lastly, we have there kind of hidden away, where is it in this picture? Actually, this picture is in the back, you can't see, but we have a ultrasound. So it's a little probe you put, like when pregnant women go to the doctor, that's what helps them see beyond. So it's like black and white images, but we can see in 3D motion, which is really good. And we have our laser, our cold laser, which is actually that little thing there. And with laser therapy, we can promote pain relief on our patients and also promote a faster wound healing. So turtles like Zelia that came in Tangalam really badly, not only we perform surgery, but we do the laser therapy, and it helps promote their healing so fast. So any animal that comes in, we do blood analysis on all of them. We check also their poops to see what's going on there, if there's any parasites. We are able to take samples from each part of their body just to analyze under the microscope to see what's going on wrong. We do x-rays, we do an ultrasound if needed, and endoscopy if there's any foreign bodies, any abnormal things that they might have eaten that we need to retrieve. So this varies a little bit with how critical the patient is, but every week at least we weigh all of our patients. We take bloods from them and we analyze them different parts. How are the kidneys functioning, the liver functioning, etc. We then do blood smears, which is what Tristan, my nurse, is doing here. So it means that we're going to put a little bit drop of blood in a slide. we're gonna check it under the microscope and count the different types of cells that exist in your bloodstream. And that will let you know if they have an infection, if they're feeling a bit more stressed, if they have any parasites, and that can help me tailor my treatment to these animals. So this is a picture of me giving some fluids to Redan at the time, with Asha helping me secure the turtle. And lastly here, even though I'm cropping a little bit, I'm doing laser therapy on Zelia, just to promote wound healing. So as I said, we rely heavily on x-rays. So here it's PIDA, having x-rays being taken, and you can see that sea turtles are actually quite usually tolerant. If you're not handling them too much, they stay quite calm. And so we are taking x-rays, and we have to be quite creative in how we do them. And then I'm in the computer analyzing different flipper pictures to see the progression of some injuries that they've had. So for example, in one x-ray, and this is a hawksbill that already was missing the right front flipper, we can see 3 different systems, for example, and get a lot of information from that. So we can see this is the windpipe, the trachea, and this is the lungs. So sea turtles have very long lungs. They go all the way around the body. So we can look into these and see if there's any signs of drowning, any signs of infection like a pneumonia, any rupture, etc. And see that they're healthy in the respiratory part. We can also look at their digestive tract. So we can see the esophagus here. And then these bits of grit, these yellow, wider bits, are actually bits of coral, because this is a hawksbill, so they feed on corals and sponges. So it's normal for them to have that. But sometimes sea turtles can ingest hooks or can ingest a lot of plastic, and that can create blockages and colic on them. So if they have a blockage and obstruction, we can also see that on the x-ray. If they have a hook, we can see it on the x-ray. So that helps us see in the digestive tract what's going on wrong. And sometimes when they have a colic, for example, they have a lot of gas, and gas shows up really dark on the x-ray. So that would be easy for us to spot it. And lastly, and most importantly on our entangled turtles, is that we want to look into their bone structure. You can see sea turtles have actually 5 digits, but they don't move them like we do, like this. They move them into like a blade motion, but they still have the 5 digits, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so we want to see these, if there's any fractures, any infections, any displacement happening, and we keep a track on those. So just one x-ray tells us so much about sea turtles. And then we can perform surgeries if needed. We have all the equipment we need. This is our previous nurse Lauren and our lead vet Max and me doing a surgery on Zelia. And again, the second surgery that she required here, she's doing much better. But we can do that all as well in the clinic. Now let's hear about a heartbeat of sea turtle. So sea turtles are reptiles that have really slow metabolisms, so their heartbeat is also very slow. We cannot use a stethoscope like you would use on a human, like, let me just show you this. Oops, I don't know if this is going to show on the camera, but you know, sorry. This is how a stethoscope would be used. Doctors would put this in their ears, and they would use this part to listen to your chest. We can't use these on sea turtles because of the shell, so we use something called the Doppler instead, which is this little machine that we're using on the video. And that you put it next to near the neck, and we can hear blood flow. When the heart is compressing, it shoots blood, and we can hear that. So the sound that you'll hear is not directly the heartbeat, but it is actually the number of beats that the heart is making. So let me just show you. So this was a turtle recovering from anesthetic. Okay, that's why it has this tube in the mouth and it has this protection in the mouth. But you saw how we put the Doppler and how we're listening to the heart. This is Lauren taking the heartbeat of hawksbill, a canlo, when she arrived. So she was using her watch to count how many heartbeats in a minute is the turtle producing, so that we can keep a track of if the turtle is doing better or worse or getting stressed. Oops, sorry. So common conditions we treat mostly is ghost net entanglement. says here currently 6 out of our 7 patients. I should have updated this because currently we only have 4 patients and all 4 have been entangled. We also have plastic and marine debris ingestion, like in the middle pictures. This was Sharda pooping it out. So this is styrofoam and rubber pieces. So that's also a concern of ours here. We have issues with boat strike. I'm covering this picture a bit, but this is a head of Handuvaru, and she had been hit by a boat on the head. And this is Fari, who was our first turtle of the year in January, and she had been entangled in this net. She was then released a month and a half later. So that's mostly what we see here. And then we also see a lot of little pets that come, they're filling pets. Hatchlings that were kept illegally as pets, and they come in really poor condition because they were fed all the wrong things. And unfortunately, some of them end up passing away, but we try to do our best to keep them, to restore their health and release them. So this is what we always aim. This is a Canlo, the one that you were hearing the heartbeat from. This is us releasing her back into the wild. So it is a critically endangered animal, and because she's already an adult, it means she's already laying eggs. So it was really important for us to be able to release her back into the wild. We were really excited, and she was gorgeous as well. And this was Fari, the little girl that you just saw in the previous slide in the net. So she was released a month and a half later after we healed all her injuries. So all of our animals, we want them back out. We don't want to keep any. So on the scientific research side, we are doing a lot because we don't know enough about olive ridleys. So any information we get either from their bloods or from their poops, etc., it's all really good information for us to have and to teach other people around the world what are olive ridleys about, because nobody knows. But another thing we started doing this year more commonly is we started satellite tracking all of our patients. So this is Sharda, the one that I just said that had been eating all that plastic. So once she had healed her tummy infection, then we had to teach her how to dive because she had forgotten. And so once she was diving appropriately, we released her. We released her and we released other 3. So this was Sharda with the satellite tag on the top. This was Muraka with another satellite. And this is Hava with again a satellite. So all 3 were released in different times. So she was in July 1st, she was September 14th, and she was August 17th. So different time lapses. So Sharda has been released the longest, and Sharda left. This is the Maldives, by the way, the whole area here. And the little tiny things that you see there are the atolls. So the islands are so minuscule, you can't even see them here. But we released her from our island, and she quickly got off the Maldives and started going away. So this is Sri Lanka, this is India, and she's already passed all of these countries, and she's been in the Bay of Bengal, going around feeding, diving to 300 meters. She's doing great. So she was already released 2 months ago. No, it was July. So we had July, August, September, now we're going to October. So she's released almost 4 months ago, and she's doing really well. Muraka, we only had, unfortunately, the tag on her for a month, but in 1 month, and she was the smallest of our turtles, she swam all of this out into Sri Lanka. And again, she was also diving really deep to 300 meters. And this is Hava, the latest release on September 17th. So it's going to less than a month still to go. Oh, just a month now. And she has been going up all the way in a very different direction to the other 2. But it's very interesting to see where they're going, how deep are they diving, how long are they staying under, because all this information can let us know if there's any particular areas of the Indian Ocean that are more important for these animals, so we can try to protect them and also prevent them from getting entangled in nets. So this is all from us. I know it's been quite long. Thank you so much for listening. You know that we are on any social media. Please do come by our Instagram accounts or Facebook just to see our Sunday live feedings. We also have some presentations on our YouTube channel, but I will later record you a tour of the rescue center so you can meet Handu, Fida, Zelia, and Kurangi, our current patients. We are just having some issues today because we have some treatments going on, but once they're back in their tanks and they're all clean, I will make that presentation to you and we'll present to you the patients. If in any time you have more questions for us, let us know, but I will record the questions that you had sent us when I'm doing the tour of the rescue center. Okay, thank you so much. Bye.